Hello. In this game, we are going to watch Carissa Yip, a modern chess child prodigy, play the Sicilian Neistorf. So I found this game played by her at the US Chess Championships and decided to present it. In this game, we will see 4 highlights. First, we will see Carissa's characteristic quick search for attack opportunities. Second, we will see her own modern version of Alekine's gun, the triple battery. Third, we will see her superb technique in queen play, finding all the correct angles to attack from. And fourth, we will watch her win a classic ending. So at this point, Black has completed her development in exemplary style and already castled first with a rook ready to claim the c file. The knight on c3 is very asking for a rook to crash on it, but Black finds an even better attack plan. So Black threatens the rook, and this is the point. I give this move an exclamation mark because I think it is the point of placing the bishop in this aggressive position. The pawn is supported by the bishop now. Let's say White exchanges pawns now, then it will give Black a strong bishop and pawn pair from an otherwise isolated pawn, which is somewhat ironic because it is turning two things that are normally weaknesses into strengths. An aggressive bishop position and an isolated pawn, these are normally weaknesses, but ironically they work together to be strengths. In the meantime, the line initiated by this move will be important in setting up Carissa's version of Alekine's gun, their triple battery later. So back to the main line. Bishop take knight. Knight takes bishop. Okay, this threatens to win material at a5 next move. So this blocks the bishop and prevents the bishop from moving to b4. Queen to c7, knight to e3, bishop to b6. The bishop looks elsewhere to make itself useful. So as you can see, White's queen is not very happy. It is crawling one step at a time. And the bishop opens up an attack on the knight. So Black could foresee that the position is going to be very pawny and exchanges the bishop for the knight. We will soon see that this is exactly what is going to happen. Claiming the open file. Doubling rooks. Tripling rooks, setting up. Here we see a modern edition of Alekine's gun, although it's a slightly different and modern addition to it. h4. Now Black is careful to not rush into taking the pawn. So let's see what happens if Black were to take the pawn. So rook takes pawn, rook takes rook, queen takes rook, and queen can take the pawn, and this not only recovers the pawn but it also attacks the knight and comes with a lot of other threats. So the moral of the story is that it is not time yet to take the pawn. So instead, Black defends with h5, rook e2, reinforcing the pawn, or more precisely the square, king g7, g3, so it appears that a5 here would be a little bit stronger, but the queen move works as well. The queen takes over the bishop's position in looking directly at the enemy king. The king takes cover. The queen moves back. The pawn pushes forward. And now Black's rooks surround the pawn. So there are many ways for white to give up the pawn, but this is, according to the chess engine, this is one of the not so good ways, because it leads to this, followed by this, this. So the actual move that black played was to take the pawn with the rook. So black sees a favorable position, but this continuation could have been stronger. It would have been the proper continuation to exploit the move f3, which blocks the bishop from defending the d5 square. So this is better than what actually happened, because what actually happens in the actual game is that the rooks are now exchanged. So the more pawny position with open files would have been very good for the rooks. The reason why this text move is not very good is because it exchanges the rooks and simplifies the position a little bit too much. Nevertheless, as we will soon see, the queen ending that this transposes into will have some instructive variations as well. So here, white cannot afford to exchange queens, otherwise black is going to eat up this pawn with the knight, because it is unfortunately on the wrong color square as the bishop, so it cannot be protected by the bishop. So instead, from here, the queen has to run away, and again white cannot exchange queens, otherwise black will win by this lovely continuation. Queen takes queen, knight takes queen, bishop f1 to try to take the pawn, knight b6, and watch the hapless bishop having to zigzag embarrassingly just to exchange itself for the a pawn, or to zigzag all the way only to be cornered all the same. So for example, to stop the a pawn, the bishop will have to crawl slowly like this. Here the bishop can choose to take the pawn, or if the bishop doesn't take and tries to stop the pawn, this is what happens. Here, as you can see, the bishop will be cornered in the end all the same, and obviously black wins. Instead, in this position, white doesn't exchange queens. Instead, she takes the pawn, and black pushes her passed pawn. So now it is finally time to exchange queens. So this threatens knight g4 check, followed by knight e3 forking the queen and the bishop, who is finally unlocked and more free. This is like saying, I dare you to take my knight. And likewise, this is like saying, I dare you to take my bishop. With this move, black stays to here. With this move, white has lost a chance to save the game. The draw forcing move at this point was g4, because after a2, bishop takes a2, knight takes a2, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and the connected passed pawns will force the knight to watch over them. Bishop take pawn, knight take pawn. After the actual move, which is in this position, king f3, b4 is now too late, because the king can now move here. Now there is no more bishop to prevent the king from going to help. f5, g takes f5, pawn takes pawn. So do I need to explain why taking the other pawn also loses? So from this position, suppose we have pawn take the other pawn, then king takes pawn. In the best case, pawn pushes, king takes pawn, king advances, king moves over, and the white king is unable to approach the black pawn, and eventually the white king will be forced to give way. So back to the main line, it was actually pawn take this pawn. So the knight comes back. The knight comes in just in time, and it is good game. So looking back, it was a very technical endgame towards the end of the game. So I hope you have enjoyed this little presentation. Thank you.